Do you speak crowdlending? Welcome to our podcast covering the crowdlending industry. Our mission is to provide you with all the insights from this market and help you make informed decisions. I'm Gassan, co-founder and CEO of Acredius. We are a crowdlending platform based in Zurich, Switzerland. I'm delighted to host this podcast and hopefully bring value to all our listeners. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Do You Speak Crowdlending podcast. I'm Gassan, and today is a very special episode because it's the episode number 8. We're having Jamie Heaslip, Head of Brand Marketing at Flender, a P2P crowdlending platform from Ireland. And the episode is also special because I'm from 1988, and 8 is a very special number to me as well. Anyways, I will not bore you more with these details. Welcome, Jamie.
Thanks for having me. Like I said to you when we were talking off the recording, anyone who wants to sit down and talk to me about alternative finance, digital lending, peer-to-peer lending, crowd financing, I'm down with that. So thanks for having me.
Great. Thank you very much, Jamie. So let's jump on it. Please tell us more about yourself.
I mean, in a previous life, I was a professional rugby player here in Ireland for 15 years. And prior to that, I studied medical mechanical engineering in college. But I've been playing rugby since I was 8 years old. So I retired because of injury about 2 years ago. And since that time, I've been building out kind of the businesses that I invested in and helped set up while playing. And I went to work for Google for 13 months full time here in their European headquarters. And now I am kind of managing and helping the different companies that I invested in, which kind of goes across multiple verticals. And right now I'm spending a lot of time with Flender, just because that's the one that probably needs the most help to really break into the market here, because we're dominated, and the banking system is dominated so much by kind of pillar banks, legacy banks here in the Irish market, that it's kind of hard to cut through. Unlike Europe, in Ireland, non-pillar bank financing only makes up about 10% of SME lending. Uh-huh. So we have a lot of work to do compared to Europe, which is about 50%, and in the US even more, so it's 75%. So we have a bit of work to do, but we are making grounds. And I'm involved, like I said, in a couple of different businesses, pubs being one of them, a sports data company. The pubs need a bit of love right now as well, because we've been closed for 2 months. But the digital lending is what, like I said, I'm spending a lot of my time right there right now.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jamie. So a bit of perspective here. So we are on May 18th, and we are kind of in the middle of this corona pandemic. So great, Jamie. So I can see an entrepreneur at heart, and basically from entrepreneurship to crowdlending directly. I mean, how was the transition from there?
It's been mental. It's been different. It's definitely not the road that a lot of professional players take. And while I was playing, like I said, I invested in various different businesses, and again, not something. I didn't invest in the businesses that traditionally Irish, or not Irish players, but rugby players probably did invest in. I invested in a lot of tech companies, like I said, across multiple verticals. And I always thought that it was better to. You got to remember, I'm a child almost of the recession. I went through the recession, so I came out of school, out of college I come out of school in 2001. I finished college in 2005 and go professional straight away. But all my peer group were just out of college when the recession of 2008 hit. So we kind of had to go through that. And we kind of had to understand that really, in terms of creating long-term value, you've got to own something or create something that provides you value. And so that's what I did when I was playing, thinking that it would help me in my transition. And that's what that was the real aim of investing in these different companies and setting up these companies, that I would be able to follow a passion that I had while playing, because if you think about it, I did medical engineering in college, which teaches you all about the process, and then being a professional player, teaches you about how to work in teams and And what happens when you follow your passion? You go all in on your passion, and then your investments is kind of a combination of that, but with kind of innovation and ideas. So it was kind of a bit of it was like layering on ideas on top of ideas. So that's kind of where I'm at now. And digital lending was just one of those spaces that the market in general in Ireland was severely underdeveloped. Really, prior to us, there was only one kind of person in the market, which is Linked Finance. They started in 2013. Now there's a couple of them, and that whole lending space, not just in Ireland or in Europe, or across the globe, has been transformed and almost carved up a little bit by all the sorts of different various players who are doing, capital-backed finance, property-backed finance, merchant cash advance, all these various different products. Because I mean, you think about it, we're like a, us kind of neobanks or fintechs, whatever you want to call us, we're like a fast speedboat, and the pillar banks are like big oil tankers. You know what I mean? It takes them 15 miles to stop, or takes them, you know what I mean? After they make the decision, it takes them that long to stop, but we can just turn on a sixpence. And I think that's the advantage that we've got all of us are using now to really kind of steal the market a little bit, because consumers in general are, you think of everyone, the way you use your phone, everything's instantaneous. Amazon Prime, Netflix is on demand, Sky, your TV is on demand, everything's on demand now. So speed is expected. And in Ireland anyway, it takes 6 to 8 weeks for a bank to give you a decision on an SME loan.
Yeah.
And we can do that. And our average turnaround time is like 4 hours, and we can usually deploy the cash within 24 to 48 hours. That's a whole lot different than waiting 6 to 8 weeks from a pillar bank.
Way different. You're right. So how is this current crisis affecting the industry in Ireland?
I think everyone's been affected. I suppose the first kind of thing to unpack there is, us as a business. Very quickly this kicked off, and we had to look at ourselves as a business. So, you had to look at your own costs, how you manage that, what is essential to the business, what's not. And that happened across the board. So that didn't just affect our business, but then also we have to layer on top, okay, what other business are really affected by this? And are we able to lend to them? Are we able to provide flexibility to them? Because we've got to think of both sides. We're lending to these companies, but we also have retail lenders who are putting money on our platform. And we want to give them a good rate. Our average return is just under 10%. Our default rate is 1.1%. And we want to keep that really, really low. So those returns are really good for the retail lenders. But at the same time, we want to be helping Irish businesses by investing in. That's who we lenders can come from anywhere in the world to our platform, but the business we loan to are in Ireland. And we're trying our best to make sure we do right by both parties. And we've managed to keep our default rate really low, because we're providing various forms of flexibility to industries that are being affected. I think it's no surprise, like hospitality, tourism, they're the two big industries that are affected most in our market anyway. And I think across, that's a pretty common trend. And me speaking, because I also own 2 pubs, we've been closed for 2 months, and we're going to be the last ones to open. So I'd say we'll be all in all closed for the guts of 4 or 5 months, which is nearly half the year, which is mad, But look, it's you gotta. You can look back, you can give out, or you can reframe it and work on solutions or work on opportunities that you might have, just like dozens of businesses are doing so right now.
Great. And so speaking about closely about Flender, so what are the current and future projects of Flender?
Pardon?
What are the current and future projects that you have within Flender?
That's a good question. I have a list as long as my arm of the projects I want the engineers to do for us, because we're a purely online digital business, right? But different things take priority at different stages. So we have a really, really good roadmap of different types of financial products that we want to develop. and want to make almost democratize those different offers for everyone, for businesses and for people who want to options as what you can lend and get a return on your investment. But, a lot of that, again, then comes back to resources. We were hiring quite aggressively. We've had to kind of press pause on that to a certain degree throughout this crisis, just like a lot of businesses. And that has a knock-on effect in terms of being able to execute that roadmap and the speed at which you're kind of getting those projects done. We have a couple of big projects that we were working on. They're meant to come live May, June, but they've all been pushed back now. Hopefully, we're kind of working on them with a limited team, and hopefully they'll come live tail end of the year. But we're really kind of multiple products coming out. Just last week, we updated a load of stuff for our third-party intermediary channel, partnership channel, and we've various different projects that we're working away on. But all in all, it's good. We've been kind of working on our pipeline in terms of different businesses that are coming to us for financing, and our retail lenders are really reacting really, really well to that, because we've been quite prudent on the industries that we're lending into. All things considered, we that's what we have to do. We're quite prudent on the volumes that we're lending out as well. And everything's going through our credit check as per usual. So it's, there's a couple of different things that are at play. And there's, even from a marketing perspective, there's a lot more we would like to be doing. But again, it comes down to priority and resources right now. Because like everyone, it was consolidate, look after what you got, nurture that, and nurture that throughout these next couple of months, and build that almost, customer loyalty, brand loyalty, like whatever it is, your community, and really, really build those relationships so that, down the line, those people will stick with you, and they know that that you worked with them to stay together. So that's really what we're building on from a marketing brand perspective, building in those relationships.
Great. So speaking about brand here, so you're the head of brand marketing. So what are the main challenges that you are facing when introducing crowdlending to investors or borrowers or partners?
Again, we already kind of touched on it. The problem in the Irish market is that SME lending in particular has been really, really, what's the word? Kind of like dominated by the pillar banks. We've had, there's kind of 3-4 banks here who are the dominant players and have been traditionally. So we're trying to, I suppose, adapt in this market, educate people along with, there's lots of different types of fintech providers here, and we're just trying to educate the market in terms of the options. We're not saying that we are for everyone, but we are just kind of doing a big educational piece, and we've been making really good grounds on that, getting a lot of cut through with the media, because I think a lot of people are fed up with the limited options that they would have had in this market, and are welcoming alternative financing options.
Interesting. It's funny because it's kind of similar here in Switzerland as well. So we're the same.
Yeah, I mean, the stats are quite interesting. So our central banks say that alternative financing is about 10% of all SME lending, and the SME lending business every year is about 3.6 billion in Ireland. However, we kind of came together under a group called the IFPI, which is the Independent Finance Providers of Ireland, and we kind of did our analysis, and we reckon we're doing about €1 billion. So we actually reckon we're up to about 30% of non-pillar bank financing. So it looks like we're growing. The problem here is that we're not regulated. Even though we have a UK license and we're regulated in the UK, it's not regulated here in Ireland. And that's something we're working on quite hard, because we want it regulated, because again, that will add an extra layer of trust with the lender, and an extra layer of trust with the borrower.
I see. In Switzerland, it's also a bit similar. We have some kind of regulation, but there is no like any crowd lending license whatsoever. We have something, you can be a financial intermediary. There are sandboxes here and there, but yeah, it's also one of the challenges here in Switzerland. But from your perspective and from the investor perspective, what are the main advantages of this asset class?
Um, well, the main advantage of Flender, and I think you can say this with digital lending and fintechs and neobanks in general, is, like us, for example, we provide fast, flexible finance. And I think it's that speed at which everyone else is operating and providing a service for customers, which is almost, it's like for millennials and kind of the Generation Z, that's that they've grown up with, that's what they expect, and that's what's going to be expected going forward. And I think that's what we're leaning into. Like I said, we can, on average, our turnaround time to give you an answer is about, once you've uploaded your documents, it's about 4 hours. I mean, and we're constantly looking how we shave time off that. And then in terms of deploying the funds, that's 24 to 48 hours normally. And again, we're trying to bring that down in terms of speed. And if you're an SME, having it all, your financing sorted out in 2 to 3 days versus two months, is huge, because you could have landed a contract and you need to execute on that straight away. You need to get machinery to execute on that deal, or stock, or whatever it is, supplies. And that's what we want to do. We want to give people their time back. We want to let them capture that opportunity. We want to enable them to grow. And then at the same time, like I said, on the retail lending side, provide our people with really competitive return on their investment. I mean, when you consider that in some places you're at negative interest rates, right? Yeah. You put your money on deposit and you're not really getting anything. But if you can, we loan out from 6 months to 3 years. Average size is about 3 years, but like there was opportunities to pop up that are 6 months of loans, get your return back in 6 months, 12 months, 24 months. So lots of opportunity for people if they have a bit of spare cash. But a lot of people, some people do right now, considering that they're not spending as much because of what's gone on over the last 2 months. It might not be a bad place to invest some of your money, given that people will argue going, well, there's risk assessment, there's risk in everything. There's risk if you play the markets. The one thing I can guarantee you is that if you put your money on deposit, it's not going to do a whole lot there.
Exactly. And you're also taking the risk, even if you put it in deposit, you're taking the risk of not taking the decision to do so. So. Yeah,
there's an opportunity cost to a certain degree. Yeah, but look, I mean, like I said, only like I said to everyone, only what you can afford to, obviously. Of course. But if you can lock it up for 3 years or 24 months, and on average, like I said, the net return to you is in and around 8% normally, and that's pretty bloody good if you ask me.
So speaking of that, what would be your advice to any beginner retail investor who wants to start with P2P or crowdlending?
That's a good question. And I really think you've got to look at the different, like anything, you got to look at the team. I look at teams, right?
Okay.
And I look at the people there, and especially with brands and companies you want to work for, it's like knowing, okay, what is that person about, or what is that company about? Are you in line with those values? Are you in line with how they're operating? And I think that's what you can do. And I think in a world now where everyone is so connected, and you can check them out on their different social channels, or or their different comms, do a little bit of research on it and understand what they're about, what they're trying to achieve, to who they're loaning into, what businesses they're loaning into, what's the breakup of that? Are they putting out information on that? Example, every quarter now we release out our kind of insights from the quarter previous, in terms of, we do 2 types of insights. We look at basically our borrowing book, and we look at our lender book. Yeah. And we kind of go like, okay, basically give you a top line view of the industries that we're lending to, the amount that they're taking out on loan on average, the length of that term loan, how our default rate is going, how, what the return on investment is for average consumers, the average amount they're depositing into companies or lending out to companies. And we give that every quarter, and quite transparent with it. Mm-hmm. And that's the kind of stuff you should be expected to get. And then also we do loads of webinars and all sorts of content that we're just getting out there and providing value and insight to both our borrowers and lenders, so that, to your question, what should people be looking for? It's that information from them. And and then also looking at the team, looking at the people there, and digging a little bit on them.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jamie. This is very, very insightful. So we come to the end of our interview, but I will not let you go like this without asking you our out-of-the-box question. So what's your favorite fruit?
Favorite fruit has to be raspberries.
Has to be raspberries. May I ask why?
I love raspberry jam. I love it. Raspberry jam on a nice Irish homemade scone or scone, depending where you're from, how you pronounce it, with a bit of nice, good Kerrygold Irish butter, and a little bit of clotted cream on top. That is a little piece of heaven.
That's a killer, right? Excellent. Thank you very much, Jamie. Anything you want to add?
No. Look, we're really honored to have people like yourselves reach out to us, particularly from Switzerland, because outside of Ireland, Germany, Switzerland, Austria, these types of markets is actually where we're getting most of our retail lenders from. So we appreciate enabling us to kind of spread our message that bit further of providing alternative financing options for people and kind of democratizing that information.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Jamie. Thank you, everyone who is listening to us, and take care, stay safe, and see you all soon.
Thanks very much.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks again for staying with us until the end. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media so you never miss an episode. Please don't hesitate to send us your questions and comments at egregious.ch. Thank you.